Welcome into a brand new episode of Bottom Line Baseball. Joining the podcast today, a great friend of the podcast. She's a legend in the business, Suzyn Waldman. Suzyn, thanks so much for joining the podcast today.
Oh, anytime. Thanks for asking me.
So, the Yankees are struggling right now. You've covered this team for many years. Have you ever seen the Yankees offense this lifeless?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I've started in 1987. I've seen everything. I was covering the team when they had the first pick in the draft, and Brian Taylor, before you guys were born. So you get the first pick in the draft when you're the worst team in baseball. So yes, I've seen this, but this is something with this particular group I don't think anybody expected. Look, this is what I thought was going to happen, and I thought, because the starting rotation we know is going to be iffy and would be iffy. This is what I thought was going to happen. That the Yankees were going to pummel people for a while. They'd win 8-6, 9-5. You wouldn't notice if there's a bad throw because they'd hit a home run that wouldn't matter. You wouldn't notice if Corey Kluber didn't get through the fourth inning because it wouldn't matter because they would out-hit people. And that, I think, was the plan. You have Garrett Cole, and then you have other people that need to be worked on. Jamison Tyone, they're giving him time. Corey Kluber, they're giving him time. And then you have other people that have done it, haven't done it. But I thought they'd be able to out-hit it so that people wouldn't notice. Not only are they not hitting, they are playing very sloppy defense, and it just isn't working at all. And it's kind of shocking, actually. And somebody says, "Well, what's wrong with the offense?" I don't know. Why is DJ LeMahieu hitting into double plays? He never has before. Why are Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge swinging at balls 2 feet out of the strike zone, down and away? They never have before, not this badly. I don't know. And if they knew the answer, as DJ would say, they would stop it.
And Suzyn, you kind of touched on it, but how important too is getting guys like Taillon and Kluber to go, 6 innings, 5 innings, and lengthen out where the bullpen isn't being used as much as they have been.
Well, it's very important, but they brought them in to have them work up to that point. Neither one of these guys has pitched in 2 years. And Kluber is a little more rusty than is Taillon. Taillon the other night was really good. You really could see that this could work. He went 5 innings. They don't want him to go third time around yet, but he looked really good, and it was really positive. Meanwhile, as you say, the bullpen is overworked, and I am really afraid these guys aren't going to be able to comb their hair by Father's Day. And that's why you need innings. And tonight in Cleveland, they're bringing up Domingo Germán, and he is going to pitch. He's been at the alternate site. They have Germán. They have Davy Garcia, their prize prospect. They've been shuffling Michael King up and down, but these are unknown quantities at the moment. And right now they are relying on, let's take Garrett Cole and put him in a corner and keep him safe. And we're not going to talk about him because we know what he is. But they're relying on 2 guys that haven't pitched in 2 years. I see it's coming along. I really do. But it's not going to happen today, and it's not going to happen next week. Jordan Montgomery has always been a steady force. He goes 5. If he starts walking people, he goes 5. Sometimes he goes 6. He's going to be fine. But meanwhile, it's not the pitching. I mean, if you lose 1-0, you might as well lose 10-0. What's the difference? If you don't score, you're not going to win. And I remember Mike Messina once saying to me, he went through one of these periods where nobody scored for him. And I remember talking to him, and he said, you can't pitch like this. You can't pitch so that if you give up 1 run, you think you're going to lose the game. You can't. No one can. No one can pitch like that all the time. So they've got to straighten this out. The offense, I can't believe they'll keep doing this. I mean, you can't. I mean, you look around, Gleyber Torres doesn't have a home run or an RBI. It's an amazing thing. I think Clint Frazier got his first RBI yesterday. It's April 22nd. It's very peculiar, but that's what happened. It's a perfect storm. Nothing is working. By the way, the defense has gotten kind of shoddy also, which doesn't help things. And I think that comes from, pressure. There's too much pressure. They are getting booed with alarming regularity. Well, it's because they're striking out 10 times a game and throwing balls into the stands, which doesn't help things. So, you can't believe this will go on much longer, but I don't know. It seems to be going on all over the league. I know Atlanta didn't look good. I know the Phillies are having their problems. It's very peculiar how this year has started.
If I could summarize what you just said, Suzyn, if John Sterling was on this call, he would say, "Well, that's baseball, Suzyn."
And he said it many times already. He has said it. It really is. But we sit there, and when we're at the stadium, we're in separate booths. Obviously, we'll look at each other through the glass. We can't believe what we're watching. Absolutely can't believe what we're watching. And because you're not down there, and because all the contact we have with people is over a Zoom, where everybody gets one question and then they move on to somebody else. And so you can give kind of a non-responsive answer. That's too bad. You go on. So we don't really know what's going on there. It would take a reporter, someone like me or someone like Meredith Morakovitz who covers the Yes, it would take us 2 seconds to find out what is going on in there. But that adds to it. So it makes it worse. And I think that the wall between the players and the fans is bigger than ever because there's no media down there. And I know the players might like it, but they better rethink what it, because all the fans are doing is seeing and hearing the results and not what's really going on. And that's not baseball either.
Historically, Suzyn, the Yankees haven't really had. I mean, can you remember the last great April they had? Like, I think fans, can sometimes be dramatic with this. We're only 20 games, give or take, into the season, so fans calling to fire Aaron Boone or fire Brian Cashman 1 month into the season, not even. Historically, they haven't had an extraordinary April to get started. So I think once they get out of New York, I think the cold weather too plays into effect.
Well, that's nice. The thing about baseball is, as John would say, it is not like the other sports. And this isn't the Jets going 0-3 and then going to Kansas City to play the Chiefs, and then your season is done. And I said last night on the air, I have 2 words for everybody who's screaming: Washington Nationals. And it wasn't too long ago when they were going to fire Davey Garcia. They were 8 games out, I think, in July, and they were going to fire Davey, and they were going to trade everybody and break it all up, and that team just did go on to win the World Series. The problem is, I think everything is in a perfect storm. The impatience of fans, first time being back in the ball game. We are also in an era where everything is immediate, and you have to win immediately. I always say baseball is like watching a soap opera, where twice a year you have sweeps, and we're not into the sweeps week yet. We're not anywhere near that. We're in the, moving right along. And then in November, when sweep weeks start, you start getting a little storyline. There isn't one yet. That being said, and just look what's going on. The Oakland A's started 0-6, 1-7. What have they won? 11 in a row? 12 in a row? Houston Astros look like gangbusters. I mean, they look, whoa, we were saying, is this amazing? All of a sudden, they can't get out of their own way. They do have players missing, I understand. But it's baseball, Suzyn. It really is. And the thing about it is, it doesn't help when everybody takes a game down and dissects it with all of these. See, I can make stats say anything. I have a degree in economics. I can make stats say anything. So when you have Aaron Hicks has done this left-handed and Aaron Hicks has done that right-handed, and then put what he's done in the last 5 games, I want to see, was he hitting right-handed or was he hitting left-handed? So you can take the stats out that you don't like and you can put them in there. It does nobody any good, but one of the things that you do have to understand, if you fire Aaron Boone, who's taking over? If you fire Brian Cashman, what's the next person going to do? They've still been told not to spend any money. He's doing the best he can with what he has. He did not have enough money to sign Tanaka. So for the same money that they would have spent on Tanaka, they got Tyone and Kluber. If it works, it's great. If it doesn't work, then they're going to have to bring up these kids ahead of schedule and do it right there. If they don't hit, it isn't going to matter if the 3 of us pitch. It isn't going to matter. But I can't believe that this team is not going to hit at some point. Getting out of New York, well, yeah, maybe. Going to Cleveland, this seems to be a team that also doesn't hit. Their bullpen is pretty deep, and their starting staff is okay. But is it going to make a difference? And they do at some point have to come back to New York.
Suzyn, with Jay Bruce just retiring, do you think the Yankees will look, outside their organization to try to find a first baseman maybe at the trade deadline?
No, they have a first baseman. His name is Luke Voigt, and he will be back in a couple of weeks. See, the whole thing, Jackson, this is actually the perfect thing that you just brought up about Jay Bruce. When Jay Bruce was signed here, Jay Bruce was going to be a left-handed bat off of the bench and maybe play first base if Voit needed to sit down. Okay? Luke Voit got hurt. So Jay Bruce had to do something that he was not signed to do, which was to play first base every day. He is not a first baseman. Not only did he not play the position that well, he didn't hit. And so that was what happened, but they had him. That isn't why they signed him. Same thing with Rugi Odor. Rugi Odor's playing every day. He's not supposed to do that. He's supposed to play maybe twice a week. He comes in, he plays, he's got a lot of energy. Maybe he hits a left-handed home run into the right field stands when he comes up. He did that his first day. I mean, he did it. But when you play Rugi Odor every single day, you know why Texas cut him. And by the way, they really must have wanted him gone. Because they're paying every penny of the salary. So he's here. They're trying to fill voids, and they're not going to go and get somebody. They are not. They don't have money to do that at the moment. This team is not playing up to its capabilities. No one's coming over the hill. No one is, no one's leading the charge here. They've got to figure it out, or they'll start bringing up people from the minor leagues, I think. Are they going to make a trade? Maybe, but it isn't going to involve a big salary. So everybody that wants you to go sign this one or sign this one, Trevor Story, I hear this all the time. Gleyber Torres for Trevor Story. Trevor Story's a free agent. He is not coming here for a half a year for 24-year-old Gleyber Torres. It's not going to happen. So they're going to have to figure it out, I guess, is the bottom line.
Suzyn, we'll just switch gears and talk a little about your career. What's been your favorite year broadcasting with the Yankees?
1996. I don't even have to think about that. It was the most special year I've ever spent in baseball, and there's been some great moments around here. 1996, when Joe Torre first came in, it was a team nobody expected anything. The 21-year-old rookie who was playing shortstop was only playing shortstop because somebody hit Tony Fernandez on the elbow and broke his elbow. George came in, was going to trade Mariano Rivera to Seattle for Felix Fermin so they could get a shortstop. Nobody expected anything. Everybody thought Joe Torre was, clueless Joe. It was the most special year I've ever been a part of. Nobody knew who these people were, really. And that's when they first started becoming stars. And it was something. It was the greatest year I've ever been around a baseball team. And you know what, guys? I knew it when it was happening. You knew it when it was happening. All of a sudden, what do you mean Joe Girardi is hitting doubles and triples? And to me also, Joe Girardi, and nobody talks about this, Joe Girardi was the MVP of that team. Because if you remember, that's the year David Cone had his aneurysm, the whole lightning, everybody went down, and Joe Girardi got everybody together and really was the glue behind the plate that held that team together. That also was the year, this is before Andy Pettitte became Andy Pettitte. And there'd be times when Jimmy Key would have to go into the trader's room and talk to it. It's okay. This is what you're going to do next time. This is what you're going to do. Andy Pettitte was going to be the fifth starter. If it worked, it was fine. If it didn't work, he was the fifth starter and nobody was paying attention. But over time, it became a remarkable story. And I think the World Series, when they were down 0-2 to the Braves, I remember going into the Braves clubhouse in Yankee Stadium, the second game, and I came back into the Yankee clubhouse, and David Cone said to me, "What's the matter?" And I said, "They're laughing at you over there." And I'll never forget this. And he said, "What?" And I said, "They're laughing. They're really just joking about the whole thing, like they're just going to," and I was really upset. And I'm kind of an emotional guy. And on the plane down to Atlanta, you had two people in different parts of the plane. You had Wade Boggs talking about what it was like to be down 2-0, which the Red Sox were to the Mets in '86, and you had Darryl Strawberry Boggs, they were up 2-0, and you had Darryl Strawberry talking about what it was like to be down 2-0 to the Red Sox going back to Fenway Park. We can do this. It was remarkable. It was going on in two different parts of the plane, and of course, you know what they did in Atlanta. Joe Torre said, "Don't worry about it. We're going to my hometown. We're going to win, and we'll be back, and we'll win it in 6," which they did, by the way. Of course, David Cone had a lot to do with that, if you remember, in Game 3. But that was a special. I get chills just thinking about it. It was just a remarkable, remarkable year.
A quick follow-up. It doesn't really have to do with that, but do you remember the first conversation you had with John?
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course. And it was WFAN went on the air in 1987. And I was an update person, afternoon, 3 to 7, afternoon drive time. And the guy that they hired to do afternoon drive was a man, the late Pete Franklin. And they thought that he was kind of a, go get him, nasty talk show guy out of Cleveland. And they brought him here, but he got sick. So they brought in weekly hosts to do his spot. And on All-Star break, the beginning of July, it was like a week after the station went on the air, they brought in John Sterling from Atlanta. It was All-Star break, and I was doing updates. And he came in, and I thought it was the most remarkable thing I'd ever seen. He stood up for 4 hours with his, like the old time things, talking to a microphone like this. And I was doing updates, and we talked, and that's when we met. And, we found out he's a big Broadway person. I had just obviously left that career, and we liked the same things. And it was tremendous. I liked him immediately. And then when he came to New York in 1989, we used to sit together on the plane because, we read the same kinds of books and read all the time and like the same restaurants and talk the same music. But yeah, this is a long time. I've known him over 30 years. We've been friends for 34, 35 years now.
It's incredible, and you can tell that you have such great chemistry on the air. And I told you that story about how if it wasn't for you two, I wouldn't be doing this. So you guys are the best.
Good. What's amazing about this, because in spring training, for example, what you see where I am, this is where I do my games from when they're on the road. And I was doing spring training games. I've got a whole setup here, different monitors and things. And I was here. John was in a studio somewhere, and the team was in Tampa, and we never stepped on each other. That's what,
Wow.
And you look at some of the broadcast teams who have been together for a long time. Most of them are not together. They're definitely not in the same booth. Mm-hmm. And most of them are in different places altogether. And listen to the broadcasts. They're radio particularly. We're doing the best we can. But the people that have been together for a long time, he knows when I'm going to talk. I hear his inflections. I know when he's going to stop or when he's going to keep going. And, that's something we're trying really hard. It's harder than we'd like, but we're really trying.
I guess this goes into the last part of the interview. You said that you listen to John all the time. So I don't know how this is going to go, Suzyn, so forgive me if this doesn't go well. I'm going to have you try and guess these Yankee home run calls. So I have 3 former Yankees that spent a few seasons in New York, and I want you to try to guess John's catchphrase for them.
Oh, boy. All right, I know the big ones, but who knows what he did? I mean, there's hundreds of them by now. Yeah, it started with Burn Baby Burn, and then it's turned into a cottage industry. All right, go ahead, Alex. Go ahead.
All right,
let's see.
The first one, Lyle Overbay.
I haven't the slightest idea, and until you just said his name, I forgot he was even here. I have no idea.
He hit one for a mile.
Lyle hit one for a mile. Okay, all right.
Yep.
If you say so. Yep.
I think you'll get this one because of, I hope you get this one, Jan Hervis Solarte.
Never nervous, Jan Hervis.
And then he went into a song that was...
Solarte, oh, yep, I remember.
All right, and then the last one...
By the way, Jan Hervis Solarte, great guy.
Great, yeah. And then the last one, Alfonso Soriano.
Oh, and I should know this. Sorry. Don't remember. Sorry.
It is, who's sorry now? Well, Alfonso Soriano, is it sorry about that one?
Boy, do I not remember that. Are you sure that's what he did?
That's what he did for a little bit.
Was it the second part? Because the song part would have been after he... What was the first part?
I don't remember the first one.
Okay. All right. Well...
So you're 1 for 3. You're a
How
Hall of
about 1
Famer.
for 3? Right.
You're a Hall of Famer.
Well, 1 for 3, like Ted Williams. Yeah, Never Nervous Jan Hervis made me laugh every time. I should have remembered. Sorry. One of the best people. I loved Soriano. He was great. He did his. I did a funny story about Soriano. He always used an interpreter, and said I didn't speak English, and I was sitting in front of him in the bus. It was his rookie year, and I was telling jokes with Michael Kay, and he started laughing, and I turned around and I said, "Sorry, you little sneak. You know exactly what I said." And he started laughing, and I said, "Tomorrow, you and me, microphone, television." He says, "Okay." And so he did his first interview with me in English. Mariano also. But Sorry was one of my very favorite people ever. Just a delightful, delightful guy who was such a help to everybody around. He made everybody feel welcome. And tremendous guy. Learned a new position because there wasn't any room in the infield. Played the outfield, and terrific guy.
Yeah. I became a Yankee fan growing up in New York in 2013, and that's when he came back to the Yankees and had that extraordinary August where he hit like 15 home runs in the month. It was insane.
Yeah, no, he knew it was sort of at the end, but he wanted to finish where he started, and it was and the assistant general manager. Well, they found Soriano. He was in Japan as a kid. He went to Japan to play, and that's actually where the Yankees found him. And it was one of my very favorite people and stories. Yeah, tremendous man.
Well, Suzyn, Jackson and I want to say thanks so much for taking the time this morning to come on the podcast. And if anyone that's not listening or listening to this that don't know where they can listen to you and John Sterling call Yankee games, where can they listen to you almost every single day the next 2 weeks, it seems like?
Well, every single day until the season ends, evidently, whenever that will be. It is in New York, WFAN, AM, and FM 660 and 101.9. But they're streaming, so you can look at it's now called Odyssey.com. Used to be radio.com. Now it's Odyssey, AUDACY or something, .com. Yankee games are now streaming, so you can get us all the time. We have listeners actually in Europe, and we have listeners all over Canada. And so Yankee Radio Network is absolutely everywhere. You don't have to be in New York.
Awesome, Suzyn. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. Anytime.